And
My
just
pleasure. Thank you very much. And as well as Immanuel Kant, I would perhaps not quite so heavy, but the Centre for Army Leadership, I would also encourage as homework to just go and have a look around. I think whether one is interested in the armed forces, the army, or just leadership in general, I would really encourage anybody has a little bit of a look around there. Really great product that is applicable to all professions and vocations, and I think there's something there for everybody.
Yeah, and I think before we move on to answering the inbox, obviously, in the podcast we'll have our links in the description, so you guys at home, make sure you check some of them out. I think I'm definitely going to be looking at a few things regarding Daesh, in terms of, I just want to brush up on my history for that. I also want to look at the integrated review, and I'm going to check out those leadership products that they have on offer. So obviously we'll reiterate that at the end of the podcast, but Anirudh, I think it's time we get into answering the inbox. So basically, for those of you that don't know, and obviously Brigadier Harris, we've explained just before, answering the inbox is when you guys just send in any question, anything you want us to talk about off the cuff. I have not seen these questions. I'm looking at them right now, just written them down. And yeah, so let's get into it. Just remember, guys, if you want to send in those questions, you can get it at the studentinboxqueries@gmail.com. That is the studentinboxqueries@gmail.com. You can send in your questions, any topics you want us to discuss, and any queries that you have about anything we have discussed. But also, more importantly, if you want to come on a podcast or you have any recommendations of people, get them in that email and we will make it happen. I promise you that. Anyway, the first question that I have for both of you is, what is your favorite hobby while traveling?
Who's first?
You, sir. Yeah, you go first.
It's reading. It's life gets busier when you get more and more grown up and you become a father, or you go higher in one's organization, and so the learning through reading I really cherish, and holiday time and travel time tends to be the best opportunities to do so.
I would say walking around wherever you are. I think one of the great things about going to different places, different cities, is being able to embrace it all. And I think you can only really do that when you walk around physically. You're not necessarily in a car. We did that when I went to New York City, but especially and Washington, D.C., but especially around Europe, whether that be Paris, you gain a greater sense of geography for the place. But you also immerse yourself much more with the culture and with the people.
Really good. Can I jump in, please? It's not intended to be a humble brag, but it serves to illustrate a manifestation of military life, and how the army, the armed forces, value your brain and want to develop you. And we were communicating, weren't we, before this podcast to try and arrange this date, and I was doing so from the Republic of Korea. And Anirudh, you reminded me of just how precious it is to walk around places. And on the Sunday, we've been bouncing around from place to place, but on the Sunday we were able to explore Seoul, and I just found it incredible. Just sticking a backpack on, bit of water, some fruits, a few nibbles, and just going off and exploring places and just getting a feel for the texture of a place and of a people was wonderful. What a privilege.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm so excited that after A-levels are done, I think I don't know who, but who with, probably you, interrailing, things like that. I'm really excited for those trips. I've backpacked a little bit in India, but there's a lot more to do, and yeah, some things like that would be.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to
it. Yeah, second question, and it's actually building on your answer about reading. What's your favorite book right now?
Oh gosh, right now. So my favorite book is Les Mis by Victor Hugo, and the book I'm reading at the moment is The Man Who Laughs, again by Victor Hugo. I'm not progressing that well through it, if I'm honest with you. So I think when I take some leave, I'm on a course at the moment that's quite intense, and I finish it in a couple of weeks' time. Then I'm going to take some leave. I'm going to go right back to the beginning of the book and start reading it properly, because it's not a book to be read in fits and starts.
I think I mentioned this in previous podcasts. I think my favorite book that I've read is probably To Kill a Mockingbird. And my favorite book currently that I'm reading is actually next to me. It's called Whitehall by Peter Hennessy.
Okay.
And it's described as the thinking man's yes minister. So it's all about the civil service, and it's just very interesting, especially because we study politics, me and Dylan. And so I'm finding it particularly interesting about what goes behind the scenes in Whitehall, how the cabinet operates with the civil service and different things like that. So yeah, I'd say
I am going to jump in and give my answer because I'm reading a brilliant book. It's called Justice by Michael Sandler, and it was actually recommended by one of my philosophy teachers, and it's basically looking at what justice is and then so many different viewpoints on it. So it goes from utilitarianism, which is Bentham Mill, greatest happiness for greatest good. We look at Kant. We look at what is Kant's opinion on justice, the libertarian viewpoint, as well as John Rawls and a few other philosophers and political thinkers. And not only is that just challenging a lot of my thoughts around justice and do we receive our fair dues as per Aristotle, it's just a great read in terms of it's like a story and it builds up in difficulty and then you actually understand all of it bit by bit. So that's a great book. And then for me, my favorite book of all time is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Brilliant read. So yeah. And yeah, we only had 2 questions this week. So yeah, that's basically it. So remember, guys, get in your questions at the studentinboxqueries@gmail.com. Now it's time to wrap up. So thank you very much, Brigadier Harris, for coming onto the podcast. We really do appreciate it. It has been a fantastic listen for us, but also a great conversation in general. Again, guys, the art of conversation is how you come to some form of truth about the facts presented in front of you. So get at those conversations, guys. That's one of the big things that we can implore you to do. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube. You like, share this podcast around. Follow us on Instagram at the Student Inbox. And yeah, anything else you want to say, Anirudh?
No, I just wanted to say another huge thank you to Brigadier Harris for his wisdom, for pearls of wisdom, and for and telling us just about an organization that's so relevant that everyone knows, but not necessarily in so much depth. So thank you very much.
And the final thing is that we've got a few links in the podcast which you can click on. We've got the integrated review. We've got some things about the Army's leadership products that we were going to be distributing in terms of for you guys to see. And we've also got some clips regarding information that you can get to read up on some of the topics that we've talked about today. So if you guys want to read up on it, just click those links and it's a great starting point for you guys to get some basic knowledge. Anyways, we'll see you in 2 weeks, everyone. Sorry for the bit of the delay from the last podcast, but I'm sure it's been worth it. Catch you in a bit, everyone. See you.